Seattle Seahawks fans, I have been staring at the trophy case all morning, and honestly, the high of winning it all has me feeling like we have everything to prove heading into training camp. A report just dropped that highlights some unexpected concerns regarding our depth chart, and it could definitely shake up the expectations for our title defense. It is wild to see which veterans are suddenly fighting for their lives on this roster while young players look to move in. The more I dig into these internal developments, the more intense the pressure feels. Smash that like button, subscribe, and tell me your name and city in the comments. Let us jump right in. With minicamp finally in the rearview mirror, the focus for our Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks shifts toward the 2026 training camp, where we have identified 3 key players whose stock is plummeting. Anthony Bradford, our right guard, finds his position in serious jeopardy despite starting every game last season. He was viewed as a weak link throughout our championship run, and with 5th-round pick Bo Stevens breathing down his neck, Bradford is officially on thin ice. Next, we have veteran quarterback Drew Lock, who is struggling to maintain his roster spot as the organization continues to invest in the development of 2025 3rd-round pick Jalen Milroe. Lock showed flashes of talent but remains plagued by inconsistency and turnover issues that emerged during minicamp sessions. Finally, the most polarizing figure remains wide receiver Cooper Kupp. After we traded DK Metcalf and parted ways with Tyler Lockett, bringing in Kupp felt like a massive gamble given his extensive injury history and declining production. Despite securing a $9 million guarantee by surviving the February contract deadline, his performance has been underwhelming, totaling just under 600 yards last season. And I will be straight with you, the massive contract attached to his name makes his current output nearly impossible to justify. The emotional reaction from us as Seattle Seahawks fans is a mix of frustration and guarded optimism, because we know that holding on to underperforming veterans at such a high cost can limit our window to repeat as champions. We all want to see Mike Macdonald push these guys to their absolute limits when camp starts, because this team has too much talent to carry dead weight while chasing back-to-back rings. The bottom line here is that these 3 men are fighting for their professional lives as we look to defend our throne. Go Hawks! The truth is that as Seattle Seahawks fans, we are witnessing a pivotal moment for 3 specific players whose trajectories have hit a wall despite our recent Super Bowl glory. Anthony Bradford struggled significantly as our primary right guard last season, and while we did not bring in a veteran heavyweight to replace him, the organization clearly felt his performance was unsustainable, leading them to draft Bo Stevens in the 5th round. Historically, we have seen late-round picks push struggling starters before, often creating a shift in culture that Mike Macdonald demands. Behind closed doors, the coaching staff is likely tired of the pressure issues we saw on the interior line and is desperate for stability. Turning to Drew Lock, he is a classic high-ceiling backup whose inability to secure the rock has invited Jalen Milroe to climb the depth chart rapidly. If Lock fails to clean up his turnover issues, he could easily be on the outside looking in by September. Finally, the Cooper Kupp situation remains the most baffling gamble of the offseason. After moving on from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, we signed Kupp to a massive 3-year, $45 million deal, despite his recurring injury history and recent decline in production. He managed only 593 yards last year, and having already paid out his $9 million guarantee, the front office is now essentially hoping for a career resurgence that statistics suggest is statistically unlikely. They are trapped between a high cap hit and a player whose best years seem firmly behind him. We have navigated high-stakes personnel decisions before, but expecting a 30-plus-year-old receiver with a history of soft tissue injuries to anchor our passing attack feels like a massive roll of the dice for this reigning championship team. Go Hawks! The reality of being defending champions is that the margin for error effectively vanishes because every other team in the league is gunning for the crown we currently hold. As Seattle Seahawks fans, we have to recognize that these roster decisions are not just about depth, they are about sustaining a dynasty. When we look at guys like Anthony Bradford, Drew Lock, and Cooper Kupp, we are staring at potential weak links that could derail our repeat bid if training camp does not yield immediate improvement. If Bradford loses his starting job to Bo Stevens, our interior protection shifts significantly, potentially altering our offensive identity against formidable defensive fronts we face later this year. Meanwhile, if Jalen Milroe overtakes Lock, it forces a change in how Mike Macdonald manages his quarterback rotation, impacting our overall cap efficiency and flexibility for late-season maneuvering. This situation regarding Kupp is particularly volatile, as his salary remains a heavy burden that limits our ability to make mid-season acquisitions if injuries strike. These roster shifts directly affect our upcoming showdowns against Sean McVay and the Rams, where marginal differences in talent often dictate the outcome of tight NFC West battles. If these players fail to rebound, our standing within a crowded playoff field could slip, leaving us vulnerable against hungry squads looking to knock us off our pedestal. And I cannot stress this enough, if we want to secure another Lombardi trophy, we need these high-priced veterans and starters to prove their worth during the sweltering heat of camp. The bottom line here is that our success relies on depth stepping up before the first snap of the regular season arrives. We have to keep our focus sharp and our standards high, because that is the only way we continue to rule the NFL. Go Hawks! As we turn our attention toward training camp, we must address the trio of Seahawks currently trending in the wrong direction. The strongest argument for keeping Anthony Bradford, Drew Lock, and Cooper Kupp involves the immense value of veteran experience during a title defense. These players provide essential depth, practice rhythm, and insurance, ensuring that if injuries strike, we have guys who understand Mike Macdonald's complex system already. Conversely, the downside is undeniable. Bradford remains a liability on the interior, Lock continues to struggle with turnover consistency, and Kupp is essentially taking up massive cap space for fading production. NFL analysts across the league are whispering that Seattle might be holding on to these names for prestige rather than actual on-field utility. Reporters from across the league have pointed out that while other teams are aggressively refreshing their rosters, we are essentially betting on past potential. What nobody is talking about is the possibility that these roster spots are actively hindering the growth of high-upside younger talents like Bo Stevens and Jalen Milroe, who are hungry for reps. And I will be straight with you, I am genuinely concerned about the financial commitment to Kupp, especially when his impact on the field has been so minimal compared to his price tag. Watching him fail to regain his elite form while taking up millions in cap space feels like a drag on our Super Bowl window. If we really want to repeat as champions, we have to be willing to make the tough cuts regardless of the names on the back of the jerseys. It is time for the coaching staff to reward the best performers on the practice field, rather than relying on the names that once carried weight in the NFC. Go Hawks! The bottom line here is that as Seattle Seahawks fans, we are witnessing a franchise entering a crucial window where high expectations meet roster transition. While hoisting the Lombardi Trophy proves Mike Macdonald has this team headed in the right direction, these shifting stock values highlight a calculated move toward younger, more cost-effective production to sustain our championship identity for years. You should feel a sense of cautious optimism heading into this season because despite the drop in stock for veterans like Kupp and Lock, the front office is clearly prioritizing competition at every position to keep complacency at bay. Having guys like Bradford and Kupp fighting for their roles signals that nobody is safe, which ultimately forces everyone to elevate their game when it matters most. Think about it this way, the team is successfully balancing the immediate needs of a title defense while simultaneously integrating hungry prospects like Jalen Milroe and Bo Stevens to build long-term depth. This is a massive shift from the old regime and indicates we are not just playing for one ring, but building a perennial power. However, the real test remains whether these veterans can silence the doubters and prove their worth under pressure before the regular season kicks off. I want to hear from you on this topic. Out of these three players, which one are you most worried about losing their spot before the season starts? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below so we can keep the conversation going. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Go Hawks! I'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned for our deep dive into next week's matchup where we break down the tactical adjustments needed to secure another massive victory and climb the divisional standings.